The leaker for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl has officially become the champion of the Sinnoh region, and we have a ton of information to break down for you guys. Let's dive in. Yo, whoa, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. Bringing you guys a brand new video today, and today we are talking about the world of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, of course, the upcoming games releasing in about 11 days, and the leaks and data mines are coming. I expect a full data mine in the next 48 hours or so, but there is one particular leaker who's been posting a ton of information, and we're gonna be recapping a lot of that in this video. So be sure to hit that like button down below and definitely subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned for Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Legends Arceus in the channel, including Let's Plays, tutorials, and much, much more. So make sure you guys are subscribed, and of course, we're gonna dive in. We've got a lot to cover today, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. If you haven't picked up one of my t-shirts, you can go to teamshiny.com, pick one up. We've got a discount right now, 15% off right now if you use code SHINY and you pick up 3 shirts. You can grab the new starters and much, much more, so check those out. Without further ado, let's dive into the leaks. Oh, and it goes without saying, obviously, there's gonna be a ton of spoilers, so if you don't wanna see the spoilers, then don't keep watching. All right, so I mentioned this in yesterday's video. I still haven't heard back from my lawyer, so I'm gonna hold off on showing any images in this video, but if you wanna see them, they're obviously on the internet. So we'll use some placeholder images, but I can discuss a lot of the stuff that has been seen. Central Leaks has compiled a nice little list of some of the things going on, so let's talk about them. Up until this point, which is up until basically the champion, right? Because we know the leaker has played up into the champion. We know that there's no new forms, there's no new megas, no new moves, there's no new characters, events, or really anything. This seems to be a pretty much one-to-one copy of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl with a little bit of Platinum sprinkled in, but it's pretty much Diamond and Pearl. And that's the next thing, is the teams that you're facing, the gym leaders and things like that, are using their Diamond and Pearl teams. So for example, Volkner is rocking with, Octillery and Ambipom in his electric type gym. You've got Candace using Metacham in her ice type gym, right? So these trainers, their levels are the same. The one thing I will say, if there's any sort of consolation for that, is the fact that the movesets have been updated. We've seen some really cool movesets. Things like Byron, his Bastiodon having the Citrus Berry with Sturdy, which was a Platinum thing. The Bronzor that he leads with utilizes Trick Room, which kind of helps out his super slow team like Steelix and Bastiodon. So there are some updates to the movesets that the Pokemon and the trainers are using, but ultimately they're the same teams that we saw in Diamond and Pearl with the same levels. And we'll talk about the level thing here shortly, because that kind of makes things a little bit interesting, because your team is most likely going to be over leveled due to the new experience share system. Now we know there's an XP share, and it seems as though it cannot be turned off, and thus your team is most likely, if you battle all the trainers and play through the game like you normally would, your team is most likely going to end up being over leveled, which may or may not be a good thing. I mean, the reality of it is games like this are not really designed to be hard, so it's not all that big of a surprise there. So anticipate that in your playthrough. This is why I personally do Nuzlocke, because if you ever lose a Pokemon, it sets you back a little bit, makes the game a little harder. I'll be doing 2 Nuzlocke style playthroughs for Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, one of which is a bug only Nuzlocke, and the other one is gonna be a shiny only Nuzlocke, which you guys can watch on my marathon 153, which is gonna be a 6.5 day marathon on my Twitch streams when the game officially launches. From there, we've seen that the gym puzzles are based on the Diamond and Pearl games. There's no Platinum exclusive characters, a lot of Diamond and Pearl stuff. There are some movesets that have been updated, so you'll see some new moves and things like that on various Pokemon. And also, I mentioned this in yesterday's video, the Pokemon do have new cries when fainting, so that's kind of cool. There's a lot of debate right now in the community, and I'm gonna make a separate video about this, probably tomorrow or the next day, about the music in the game. We touched on this yesterday. There's a lot of discussion that the music is unfinished. I'm not totally convinced. My buddy got back to me. He thinks that this is just what the music is gonna be, but there's a lot of people concerned that the music is not actually finished and that this day 1 patch is going to fix that. However, I would hold your reservations to the fact that it's very likely that there's not gonna be anything super significant patched on day 1 of the game actually launching. But again, we'll keep our eyes and ears open and see what's gonna happen there. But there's been a lot of discussion about that. There's also some concerns about visual glitches in the game. There's some weird things that I've seen through screenshots where Cyrus doesn't actually throw a Pokeball and the Pokemon just pops out. There's no Pokeball animation. There's a scene where Barry and you are double battling together and you don't actually see a Pokeball in their hands. They just kind of have nothing in their hands. So there's definitely some visual glitches. Whether or not those are going to be patched, I don't know, but this game definitely has some visual kind of issues. Whether or not that really is a big deal is really up to your interpretation. I will say that the community right now that I'm seeing is very gloom and doom, but I will say that that's been the case every time, man. When these games leak, people see these games and they just automatically harp on the negativity and they automatically just bash the game. This happened with Sword and Shield, and the game comes out and then, you know, it's a Pokemon experience, right? So again, I'm not here to bash the game. I have my opinions on it, but until I actually play it for myself, I'm gonna hold my judgment of whether the game is good or bad. But just know that this is very much so a Diamond and Pearl remake. It is not like ORAS, where it is gonna be enhanced like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire was compared to Ruby and Sapphire. From there, it says that there's some new idle animations that are based on their Diamond and Pearl sprites. And from there, we talk about the Pokemon following you. The Pokemon follow you is basically the friendship or affection mechanic. So if you have a Pokemon following you, it's going to give them more XP. It's going to allow them to dodge attacks, get more critical hits, etc. And it makes them really OP throughout the context of the gameplay. So it's probably in your best interest to swap your following Pokemon, but if you have one that you want to carry your playthrough, that's gonna be your all-star. You keep them following you, and they're gonna get all these extra bonuses. Which, again, I talked about yesterday too. I feel like that's one of those things where, like, if you kind of think of it like the anime, it's kind of cool. Like, you know, you're in a tough battle, your Pokemon hangs on by a thread, 1 HP, it toughs it out for you. It's obviously not an online mechanic, so it's not a huge deal. The next thing is that the HMs are actually now TMs. So there's no HMs anymore, they're just TMs, and TMs are single use, which we actually already knew. It seems as though the gym leaders give you multiple of those TMs. You don't just get one TM, you know, avalanche or whatever. You get a handful of them from the gym leader. How many, I don't know, but it seems as though they're gonna allow that to be kind of a limited distribution. You're not just gonna get a ton of them. You can play the musical notes with your badges. There was a little clip that popped up where you can play a scale. 2 of the badges were rusty, and it was bugging the nonsense out of me because they were out of key. But you can clean the badges off as well, which is a feature that I know a lot of people liked. Small things, right? And then, of course, you can customize the dialogue window border like in the original game, so you can change the different, you know, the different border you have. You could switch to set and battle style, switch and set battle style. But otherwise, it seems as though this is really just truly a faithful remake to Diamond and Pearl. We have not gotten the leaks for the post-game yet. The post-game stuff is likely coming in the next 48 hours. So I'm gonna say let's keep an eye out for that, because it's very likely. Well, I don't know if it's very likely. There's a possibility that there's something new in the post-game, but at this point, I would not hold your breath, guys. I'll keep you posted here on the channel as new information comes out, and we'll have to see what goes down. So with all that being said, it seems as though, again, that things are very much so closely tied to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and Diamond and Pearl, with little bits of platinum elements sprinkled in. Now, the person who's leaked has not really discovered the underground, hasn't spent a ton of time there, hasn't gotten to post-game. There's still a chance that there's some extra layers of depth here, but up to this point, it seems to very, very much so a one-to-one remake with some nice graphical changes. And a lot of people upset about some glitches and things like that. But again, this time of year, man, people are always harping on the negative. So let's try to keep it positive and just wait and see till we get our hands in the game. Because I remember this exact thing when Sword and Shield came out. People were so angry about it. And then the game came out, and then it wasn't as bad, I guess, right? People like focus on the few bad things. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on everything that we just broke down. Again, hopefully I'll cover some of these images and stuff. I'm holding off right now, again, just to be mindful. Because this is leaked information. But be sure to like the video if you guys enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Don't forget to pick up a t-shirt and swag out your closet for the new games releasing. You can go to teamshiny.com and use code SHINY to get yourself 15% off if you pick up 3 t-shirts. That's gonna be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.